First, we begin with major developing news. 3 people remain missing this morning after a seaplane crashed off Rottnest Island in WA.
3 others are seriously injured. 1 person was uninjured in the crash. The aircraft hit Phillip Rock on takeoff. That's at the entrance to Thompson Bay. Witnesses, as you can see there, could only watch from a distance in horror at what they saw.
We had a feeling everyone thought something was wrong. It didn't look very good at all.
Once the wind went under the wing, it just picked it up and nosedived it into the wall.
Yeah.
It's understood that the plane crashed after struggling to take off, and while the details are still coming through this morning, it is believed that the aircraft is a Swan River seaplane, run Cessna, carrying the registration tail number VHWTY.
Now, as a lot of people know, Rottnest is one of the most popular tourist destinations in Australia, with this month being, of course, one of the busiest times of the year for travellers. We're going to bring you all the latest developments live throughout the morning, and we'll cross, obviously, to Rottnest at around 7.
Oh, what a terrible thing to happen. All right, let's get some more news now. Here's Amber.
Good morning. To breaking news, and an emergency bushfire warning has been issued for Cape Otway and parts of Hortonvale in Victoria, with residents urged to leave immediately. A bushfire at Blanket Bay Road is out of control and travelling quickly in a westerly direction towards Lighthouse Road. Evacuating the area is currently the safest option. 8 people, including 6 children, are recovering with serious injuries after a minivan rolled on the Hume highway yesterday. We cross live now to Andrew McCormack at Westmead. Andrew, 2 people are still in a critical condition.
That's right, Amber. 8 people, all believed to be of the same family, involved in this crash. 6 of those children, aged between 4 and 16, 3 of which were taken here to Westmead Hospital in a serious but stable condition. Incredible scenes on the Hume Highway, some 20 kilometres north of Goulburn yesterday. Those 3 air ambulances landing on the highway, but it was before emergency services got there where chaotic scenes of travellers and bystanders and witnesses who were first on scene there had to flip this minivan, which came off the road and in a ditch off its side to help free one of the children who was trapped underneath. One of those first on the scene was an off-duty fireman from New Zealand. Take a listen to some of the witnesses and first on scene.
We jumped out and went over and noticed that there was a girl trapped under the van. We pushed the van up and flipped it back over and pulled her out.
So a woman in her 30s is the most seriously injured. She's in a critical condition in a Canberra hospital. The driver, a man in his 50s, is at Liverpool Hospital, also in a critical condition. Police investigating just how this crash took place. The Hume Highway back open as per usual as of late yesterday afternoon, Amber.
OK, thank you, Andrew. One of the brothers accused of shooting Queensland woman Chloe Jade Mason dead has claimed he acted in self-defence. We go live now to Georgie Chumley in Brisbane. Georgie, his solicitor says Chloe showed up at his house with a gun.
Good morning, Amber. That's right. Even the defence lawyer in this case has labelled it a curious case. Kane Thompson-Gleeson and his brother Cody were only charged and arrested on Monday over the murder of Chloe Mason, who was allegedly gunned down in a Caboolture street on the 22nd of December. Now, at the time, police labelled this a targeted attack. But after the brothers fronted court yesterday morning, the defence lawyer for Kane, one of those brothers, came out and said it was an act of self-defence. Take a listen.
Mason came to the front of Kane's house armed with a rifle. There were 3 children in that house under 8 years old.
Now, it is highly unusual for a defence lawyer to publicly reveal so much about a case so early on, particularly with serious charges like murder, but hopefully we will learn more. The brothers are expected to face Caboolture Magistrates Court next week.
Georgie Chumley with the latest there. Thank you. It's been revealed the 2 men who died after their boat capsized off the South Australian coast were trying to untangle equipment stuck in crab nets. Hayden Nelson has more in Adelaide this morning. Hayden, the victims are being remembered as lovable men.
That's certainly the description from the wife of one of the men, Amber. We spoke to June McIntyre, who clutched a photo of her husband, Roger Walker, the 82-year-old. She's now a widow, clearly shaken as she spoke to the media. Roger set off with his mate Victor Kent, Victor's wife Kathy, in the early hours of Monday morning, but when they failed to return, June went searching for him. It's understood that, as you say, they were trying to untangle a stuck crayfish pot when the boat capsized.
He was just a lovely fellow. He got on with everybody and he had lots of mates. I'll love him and I'll miss him, but when these things happen, you can't do anything about it. So you just got to pick up yourself and get on with it.
A member of the public had spotted an empty trailer and had already raised the alarm. This person found Kathy in the water, clearly struggling. She was brought to shore, revived and taken to hospital. She is the sole survivor and is understood to be recovering this morning. But it's been revealed that despite the fact that all these three fishermen were experienced in the water, they've been fishing there for decades. Only one was wearing a life jacket and police say it was poorly fitted. On top of that, they were the only boat out there. All the other fishing boats had decided to spend the day inshore. Amber.
Hayden Nelson with the latest. Thank you. Sydney's ongoing train dispute is back in the spotlight, with the rail union's pay fight set to go to the Fair Work Commission on Friday. It comes as the union threatens new bans from next week, including running trains slower, going 23 k's under the limit on some lines. Or if a train is cancelled, members won't work to replace it. There's also an ongoing ban on transport officers issuing fines or checking tickets in peak hours. Australians who want to serve their country and join the Defence Force are being made to wait more than a year to be enlisted, despite the ADF being thousands of troops short. Live now to Beth and Yeoman in Canberra. Beth, it's reported there have been serious issues with the government's external recruitment company.
Not only that, Amber, the recruitment company is being funded by taxpayers to the tune of $1.4 billion. The Swiss-owned agency has recently been hit with an official performance notice after creating a massive backlog of Australians wanting to enlist in the military. Last year, it slowed the processing times of a whopping 64,000 new applicants, more than the current size of the ADF, at a time when the Defence Force is desperate for more troops, around 5,000 short. The government had previously stated a desire to bring the process down to 100 days, blaming the wait times on the overwhelming number of applicants. But the delays have led to many frustrated Australians giving up and choosing another career path instead.
Beth and Yeoman in Canberra, thank you. Well, Gold Coast Mayor Tom Tate has revealed a brazen pitch to swipe key Olympic events from Brisbane during the 2032 Games. Live to Georgia Costi. Georgia, what is Tom Tate calling for?
Well, Amber, Tom Tate is always a man with a plan. But to be fair, this actually does make a lot of sense. And he says that it could save a staggering $5 billion. He says there are a number of events that the Gold Coast could host come 2032. In particular, the swimming here at the Gold Coast Aquatic Centre. He says that $150 million would need to be spent on a new roof and more seating. But that is significantly cheaper than the $2.5 billion proposed to build a temporary swimming stadium in Brisbane. On top of that, he also says that there would be no need to build an athletes' village because we have 40,000 hotel rooms here on the Gold Coast that could host all the teams. And on top of that, we also have 5 new 5-star resorts under construction. And while we're here, he says there are still a number of other events we could host, including equestrian at the Gold Coast Turf Club. Now, all of this will be submitted to the 100-day Olympic Games review. But he says back in 2018, when we hosted the Commonwealth Games, it was a sure success. So why not help out Brisbane and do it again come 2032?
Thanks, Georgia. Well, 3 years on from his deportation from Melbourne, Novak Djokovic has been seen all smiles in the city with his family ahead of the Australian Open. Live to Tegan Doling in Melbourne. Tegan, he's opened up about the trauma he felt from being deported.
Yeah, the 10-time Australian Open champ touched down here in Melbourne at the start of the week, and yesterday we saw him enjoying a cruise on a boat with his family at the Royal Botanic Gardens. But he has opened up to the Herald Sun about the trauma that he felt coming back to Melbourne, unfortunately, because as we know, back in 2022, he was detained in that immigration hotel and then he was deported over his vaccination status. But nonetheless, that's all behind him. He's very excited for the Australian Open this year, under obviously the watchful eye of his coach, Andy Murray. He's already been out here at the practice courts having a hit against Carlos Alcaraz. And what he's going for this year, Amber, is a record 25 Grand Slam titles. And if he wins that, he actually surpasses Margaret Court's record of 24 single titles to their name.